Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. Ha. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Ha. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We're heading into week 13, playoffs on the line. We have a lot of news. We have a lot of good games coming up. But first of all, Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. I'm better than the Broncos fans right now because I think the Broncos are in that hell where they realize they've made a bad mistake and they've gotten the wrong guy and he's just not going to win for them. Russell's most likely done. I mean, maybe he can bounce back. We saw that happen in the past to other quarterbacks, but yeesh, I'm glad I'm not a Broncos fan right now, although the Falcons aren't that much better. Our scores, as a matter of fact, we disagreed on 3 last week, and I took 2 of them, and you took 1. The Broncos and Panthers, well, speak of the devil there. The Falcons and Commanders, I got that one, unfortunately.
That's right, yeah.
And last night, the Steelers and Colts. You had the Colts.
Yeah, I did.
Brings our total to 111 for me and 109 for you, which I went back and looked at the previous seasons right before this, and I will tell you we are extremely consistent because this season is 111 to 109. Last season it was 111 to 105. The season before that in 2020 it was 114 to 117, and in 2019, our first year, it was 110 to 114. So we are absolutely consistent.
It really is incredible how consistent we are. You would hope that you'd actually improve, like, noticeably over the years.
You would think, yeah.
But nothing so far. We have to pick it up at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully outperform our past selves. But we'll see. Let's quickly talk about the MVP ladder. At this point, I'm only going to do my top 5. No more in the hunt. No more candidates because realistically, this is a 3-horse race. Maybe 4. I'm gonna do top 5. I have 2 at 1 this week. I'm taking that other step. He got benched because he was so good at halftime, and that of course is not something that necessarily supports his MVP campaign because he would have ran up the numbers huge and he would have ended up with over 500 passing yards in easy fashion if they left him in. But when he played absolutely perfect. The Dolphins do not lose when Tua's playing. They're the best offense in the league. He's the most valuable. He's missed the games. I get it. He's missed the games. He doesn't have the total numbers, but his passer rating is by far the best in the league, by far the best we've seen in a while. And he's the most important player on that team by a long shot. He's been playing flawlessly. He's my number 1. Just edging out Patrick Mahomes this time was the number 2. You can interchange him because Mahomes didn't have a terrible game by any means. He won. It was against the lowly Rams. He didn't play up to like what you would consider to be his standard through an ugly pick. But the game was never in danger. Mahomes is perfectly fine. I'm gonna say just 2 had a slightly better game, even though it was only half of 1. So you can trade those around however you want. Josh Allen still at 3. Similar situation to Mahomes, played well and in fact willed the Bills to win, to a laborious win, by the way, on Thanksgiving against the Lions, which we didn't expect. We thought it was going to be a blowout coming into the season, but the Lions fought hard and the Bills just about got it done thanks to Josh Allen, who put out an MVP worthy performance, but I'm still having him at 3. Those are really the top 3. Like it's between those 2. Joe Burrow at number 4. He's really picked it up of the latter half of the season, so he's still a very, very small outsider's chance. And also same for Jalen Hurts at 5, who had a crazy day on the ground with the Eagles rushing attack. So those are my top 5. Realistically, only the top 3 to me have a chance, but those are my 5. What do you think?
Once again, I absolutely agree with you. There is 3 names that are running away with this at this point, and I think Tua is in the lead. I think he has proven himself. If you are good enough in the NFL to get benched at halftime and let the third stringers, it's like a college game where you're up by so much that we might as well bring in the walk-ons and let them get some time on the field. And that's what's happening here. That team is that good. Tua is that good. And he has been that good in college, and we're seeing it again in the NFL. Once he got adjusted and has a decent coach to play under, I know a lot of people are going to object to that because they love Flores and what happened to him. I get it. But I think McDaniels is better than Flores, in my opinion.
Of course.
This is working out. Yeah, it's those three. Burrow, yeah, I think it's a really long shot if he's going to have any chance at this. These guys are going to have to start sucking at some point for that to happen. But right now, Tua at number 1. Oh, I want to say this too. Tyreek Hill is Tua's number 1 target. How long, if Tua wins the MVP, how many people are going to start saying, well, Tyreek makes MVP quarterbacks?
Ooh. I don't know, but that's a good point because Mahomes had him too when he won the MVP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Diggs is also that type of character, helping out Allen. So
definitely, that's the thing. All of these quarterbacks have a top tier elite number 1 receiver.
Yes. When
they play at an MVP level, you have Hill, you have Kelsey for Mahomes, you have Diggs, Burrow as your Chase, Jalen Hurts as AJ Brown. Well, they run more than he even throws, but he does have them anyway. That is a good point. That is a good point. And I think that's what it takes too for a quarterback to put up MVP worthy numbers these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I know I've heard the argument. Mark Schlereth and guys like that say, well, you look back at the Super Bowl winners, and we don't see a lot of super elite wide receivers. They don't have those top guys. But to win the MVP, I think you do need those guys. But
don't we, though? Like last season, Cooper Kupp, best receiver in the league.
True.
Before that, a collection of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski. Before that, Tyreek Hill. Before that, with Julian Edelman and Gronk. There's a... I don't know.
I think that's just it. Is probably, it came from that long run of Brady winning with Edelman and Welker and guys like that. And they're like, well, this is not Julio, this is not AJ Brown or Tyreek Hill or guys like that now. But either way, I mean, he had Gronkowski, so that's his Kelsey. So
yeah.
Maybe there is an argument to say that you do need a super wide receiver or tight end to win Super Bowls.
It helps. It certainly helps in offense to have it. In those big games, you definitely need those guys. But that is our MVP rankings. You can vote for yours as well on the channel page, the community channel page of Beyond Football. You can vote for your MVP candidate. If the season ended today after week 12, who's the MVP frontrunner? Let me know. Go ahead and vote. Leave us a comment and tell us why. With that being said, we have a schedule. We have week 13. Let's get into it. This is already a really, really good game on Thursday night. We have the Bills at the Patriots.
Yeah, it really is. And the Bills bouncing back after having some somewhat down games for that offense. They put up a pretty good showing against the Lions. Now, the defense led up and let the Lions back into that game, but also the Lions are proving to be offensively worthy this season. They're shaping up to be a decent team, so can't really hold that against them, in my opinion. Now, the Vikings, like I said, they were going to bounce back, so they put one over on the Patriots. And maybe this is a momentum thing because I think these teams are really more evenly matched than you would think just from name alone over the past couple of seasons. But I'm going to stick with the fire here. I'm going to stick with the momentum and say the Bills win on the road.
Man, this is not as easy to pick, I'd say. I know the Bills have shown by now that they are actually the ones who can beat the Patriots in this division. They can do it reliably. But they haven't been as convincing the past few weeks as they've been, the start of the season where they were just the juggernauts, absolute frontrunners. I don't think most people would say anymore that they're the clearly best team in the league. They've shown that they're fallible, even as recently as against Detroit. And the Patriots have a habit of making shaky teams lose. So this is difficult, and it's in New England. I'm gonna go with the MVP candidate though. I'll give it to Allen, but it's gonna be a close one. I think. I don't think this is gonna be. This is not gonna be a blowout like we saw in the playoffs last year. These teams are pretty evenly matched because the Patriots are a very strong team. Obviously, defensively they're phenomenal. Special teams wise, they're phenomenal. If the offense can stick with it, with like the scoring power of Buffalo, it's going to be a close one. But I'll give the nod to the Bills. But it's going to be exciting and it'll be close. Steelers at the Falcons.
This is another game that's pretty evenly matched, and you wouldn't think so a couple weeks back because the Falcons were proving that the offense was firing and they can win some games, but we saw them take a dip recently. And the Steelers, who had a horrible start to the season and have done nothing great, are actually on a little roll right now. I think they're maybe putting something together here. They pulled one over on the Colts. And a not so great island game, but you know what? I'm afraid that the reverse jinx kind of worked. It worked in my favor because I picked against the Falcons last week. I'm gonna have to stay in those flames. I mean, I hope the Falcons win, of course, but I don't believe it. So I'll pick the Steelers on the road.
Man, yeah, this is always a tough spot. Whenever you pick against Atlanta, I have an especially tough assignment here. Especially a game like this, because this is you might as well flip a coin.
Yeah.
But they definitely did let me down against Washington. I want to say they should have won that game against Washington, if not for worst possible turnovers again. And the Steelers are not as good as Washington, even though I like their potential. I'm once again picking the Falcons at home, and here's why: because the Falcons have legitimate ambition to win the division. They're still in the mix because that division is terrible and a losing record can win it. Any team still has, maybe not the Saints, but any team just legitimately can still win it. The Steelers, not so much. That division's gone. Bengals are good. The Ravens are good. That division's out of sight. So if anything, the Falcons are playing for more. So I expect them to play harder come in the later parts of the season. So that's what's tipping me over the edge here to go Atlanta. Broncos at the Ravens.
Yeah, later in the show I want to talk about the divisions too, the best and the worst.
Oh yeah.
Broncos and Ravens. Like I said, the Broncos are probably the worst team in the league right now, and that's amazing that you can say that when Russell Wilson is the quarterback. He literally looks like he's past his prime. He looks like he's playing like one of these 42-year-old quarterbacks, that is just way past his prime. But he's actually kind of young compared to Brady or even Ryan and Rodgers. But it is what it is. The team is just that bad. And the Ravens lost a hard-fought battle last week, and that was a really good game. It came down to the final play. I'm going to take the Ravens at home. This shouldn't be a problem for this to win this game.
Looking back, it's incredible how close I came to picking Jacksonville in that game. I legitimately wanted to. I had the inclination, but it was just too risky. Man, hindsight. But in this one, I don't think that the Broncos are as much of a danger to Baltimore as the Jaguars are. Denver sucks. They're awful. Bad. I can't explain it per se because they came in as a very strong defense, like a top defense, and on paper an improved offense, but they've just it's all falling together. I don't know why that's all falling apart. Baltimore should bounce back, and they have to. By the way, they're very, very important. They're playing for the division win, so Ravens to win. Packers at the Bears.
Wow, if Justin Fields is back here, I want to say this helps the Bears, but even with Justin Fields there, they're finding ways to lose. There was a chance that Peterman was going to start this because Simeon was injured in warm-ups, and they put out the news that Peterman is starting, and I was like, oh my God, there's no way. There's going to be 4 or 5 interceptions in this game. But Simeon got back in there. Apparently it wasn't that bad. The Packers... Man, I feel bad for the Packers. Even when you think this offense is going to get it going, this is where they turn it around. Something happens like that Eagles game and just snatches it right away from them again. But I still think the Packers overall are a better team than the Bears. Even though this is in Chicago, I'm going to have to take the Packers on the road.
I'm also gonna go Packers, but here's what I find funny about this one. Before we predict, I always look at the odds, right? See at the betting lines. This game's locked. There's no lines for this game. It's the only one. It's just locked. They don't have any lines for this.
Yeah.
you can tell what this game depends on, which is the injury status of Aaron Rodgers. And until that becomes clear, they're not committing to any. Because you know that if Rodgers plays, Packers are 5-point favorites, and if he doesn't, they're 5-point underdogs in Chicago. So there's no meaning that Vegas has no inside information whether Rodgers is playing or not. I'm going to assume that he will. Because if he can, he's going to play. And if he does, the Packers win. If he doesn't, and okay, if Rodgers does not play and Fields plays, the Bears win. Yeah. If they both play, I think Packers win. So I'm going to assume he does, and I'm going to take the Packers. Jaguars at the Lions.
Yeah, I think the Bears, I mean, that line being locked, it also has to do with Fields being out also. Like, they have no idea what's going to happen. They left the lines open last week because they thought Fields was going to play. Like, all indications up until the very end of the week said that he would play, and then he didn't, so that probably hurt their odds a lot. So they learned from that. They're like, no, we're shutting it down. And also, I will say that Rodgers released a statement saying that he plans to play. So that's why I'm going with the Packers. The Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is on a breakout season, even though the wins don't reflect that. Trevor Lawrence had a lull in the middle of the season, but he is back on that trajectory, and the offense is working. ATN's going to be back in this game. I know he went out very early after like 2 carries last week, but apparently that was a non-point. Like, it really wasn't an injury. They thought it was, but it wasn't somehow. The Lions, their offense is working also, which makes this very difficult because I think the Lions are getting better each game. I mean, they came extremely close to beating the Bills last week. Man, I would say the better quarterback is Trevor here, better than Jared Goff, right? But, oh man, I want to go with the momentum. Well, they both have the momentum. Anyway, I'll pick the Lions because they're at home.
They do both have the momentum. That's the difficult part. They're both teams playing better right now than their record would suggest. Having played better than their record would suggest. And that makes it tough to pick. And I'm going to go with the logic that you proposed, but didn't pick. You went with the home team. I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. So I'll take Jacksonville to do it. Even though Detroit has been incredibly impressive. They won 3 straight, including against Green Bay. Pick off Aaron Rodgers 3 times. And then they came within a score of beating the Bills on Thanksgiving. So they've been very impressive. But so has Jacksonville, rallying back like that against the Ravens. Yeah, this is hard to pick. And this is, by the way, going to be a good game. Like, this is the best bad game in a long time, I think. If record-wise, it'd say Tank Bowl, but this is a good game. So I'll take Jacksonville in a quality game. Browns at the Texans.
Yeah, well, you would say Tank Bowl here, too, but only the Browns aren't planning on tanking. The Browns are still fighting. They took it to the Bucs, and they actually kind of got over that defense relatively to what other teams have been doing to it. It just so happens that the offense is that bad, and this entire division is that bad, that Brady just can't get enough wins to keep him above 500, and it's bad. But here we are with the Browns and the Texans. The Texans are... I think they're in contention for the worst team in the league. I mean, they're right up there with the Broncos, but I think Davis Mills is done after this year. He is statistically the worst starting quarterback in the league. I will take the Browns on the road.
And remember, this is the game that Deshaun Watson gets to come back and leave out 13 weeks of frustration on his old team.
Yeah.
Which I think is exactly what's going to happen. The Texans came back against the Dolphins second half when they put their practice squad in. They would have gotten blown up by 50 if they didn't do that. That's not a big surprise. Texans stink. They're probably the first overall pick. Cleveland wins. Regardless of Watson. If it's Brissett, they still win. So Cleveland to win it. Jets at the Vikings.
Wow, what an anomaly. Mike White did it again. Now, last season when we saw this happen, he came out and played phenomenal just out of nowhere. People didn't know who Mike White was. And he came back and did it again this year. They bench Zach, and he comes in and plays like an MVP. But we did see last year that he fell off, and this is the Vikings, who has one of the best offenses in the entire league. I mean, power rankings, top 5 for sure. They had that one really down game against the Patriots, and they came right back and reclaimed their spot. It's tough, though, because if Mike White plays like he did last week, they have a legitimate shot at winning this game. I'm going to assume that it was a fluke once again and go with the Vikings at home.
Yeah, he did play well. He played against a bad team, though. I assume it's hard to bench him again now after that performance, so probably they'll start him again. Again, what that whole thing is going to end up doing to Zach Wilson, I don't even want to think about it. I want to speculate about it. But that's also not really my concern. I guess I'm used to the Jets doing this at this point. I assume Michael White's going to start, but the Vikings are the favorites going into it. To me, they are at least. And I'm gonna take him to win, offensively and also defensively. Let's think about that as well. The Vikings have a pretty good defense, and Mike White's gonna be facing a bit more of a challenge here than he did last week. So, to me, Minnesota should be favored, and I'm gonna take them. The Washington Commies, I still want to call them Commies, at the New York Giants.
Yeah, the problematics, if you're going to call them that. The Giants, I think maybe they can get over their lull. They had a midseason lull, and it encompassing the bye week here on both sides of it. But they played against phenomenal teams in that. I mean, the Cowboys are... You just can't get over that defense. Although they made a shot at coming back, and they don't have the offensive weapons to do it right now. If they had a couple really legit wide receivers out there, this would be a dangerous team and maybe even a deep playoff run team. Somebody's got to... Their offensive line has to get healthy. Saquon and Daniel Jones can't do it all on their own. I know there are quarterbacks that can, but Daniel Jones is not that type of guy. He needs a good offensive line. The Commanders are on a lucky win streak, if nothing else. That division is phenomenal, though. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go... I guess this is out on a limb. I haven't seen the odds yet, but I will take the Giants at home to get it going again.
Yeah, this is a tough game to pick. And by the way, these are both currently playoff teams. If this was the season had ended, the entire NFC East would be in the playoffs. All 4 teams get all the wildcard spots, which is crazy. Last division in the whole league I would have expected that out of. Maybe the AFC South. But other than that, this is absolutely enormous. I will go with the Washington in this one. Because they are on that streak, it's tough to stop. Giants have been struggling. They came out an incredible start, but we've seen their limitations more and more. And we know that they like to struggle sometimes, especially in divisional games. And I think if there's one team that's really smelling blood in the water in this division, it has to be Washington, right? Because the Giants were up there with the Eagles fighting for the division win for a long time. Now all of these teams have a clear winning record. And it's fireworks out there in the East. But to me, Washington with Taylor Heineke, they feel like a very invigorated team, and like they're suddenly getting everything done. Defense is playing well, offense is performing, Taylor Heineke's throwing. Giants are good, don't get me wrong, and it's going to be a close one, but I'm going to say Washington edges this one out, and I'm not super convinced, but I think they'll keep it going because they have a little bit more momentum. Titans at the Eagles.
Man, speaking of momentum here, the Titans kind of had it ripped away from them there. The Eagles are still on their win streak, and it's really hard. I mean, I know they haven't played like the 10-1 team, like the best team in the league, although I'm seeing some power rankings that have the Eagles back at number 1. So this is actually tougher than you would think. If you're just going by last week and their entire record alone, you want to pick the Eagles definitely, especially them being at home. But I think the Titans are going to put up a really good fight here. I think, man, this is going to be a close game. I will stay with the momentum though and pick the Eagles at home.
Yeah, the Titans are very limited if they can't run the ball at will, and they haven't been able to run the ball. They've struggled. Derrick Henry has been kind of slumping, mid-season slump if you want to call it that. He's been struggling a little bit to get going for the past few weeks, and that hurts this team a lot because they're limited in what they can do through the air. The Eagles, however, no one has stopped their run yet at all. No one's been able to stop it. Plus, they have a much better defense than Tennessee as well. So Philadelphia to once again dominate on the ground and win. Seattle Seahawks at the Rams.
Wow, the Seahawks, that they kind of lost their momentum last week also. That was pretty tough. And Kenneth Walker, I want to say that's his first bad game, even though he got in the end zone. It's kind of his first bad game. I mean, they lost to the Raiders. That defense just could not hold the Raiders. Man, it's the Raiders. Come on. But the Rams are even worse. The Rams are so bad. Stafford may not even play for the rest of the season now, from what I'm seeing. I gotta give it to the Seahawks on the road. They should easily win this one.
Yeah, there's no doubt to me as well. Listen, the Rams without Cooper Kupp, there's nothing to speak of. They didn't lose as badly against the Chiefs as we may have thought they would, and that was mostly thanks to their defense. But offensively, there's just no production. Seattle's still in competition, and they have to win these games because, again, we look at the East. Seattle right now is out of the playoffs, just like that, because the entire NFC East has such a good record. They have to win these games. Like Arizona, LA, you have to win. You have to beat those teams. They're bad this year if you want to contend. So must-win game for Seattle, and I do think they get it done. Though I will be rooting for the Rams. It's one of the very few times I'm going to be rooting for the Rams. Yeah. The lesser of two evils, I guess, in this case. But yeah. I think Seattle gets it done anyway. Dolphins at the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, like if the Rams win here and knock the Seahawks out of contention, the Rams are much easier to beat than the Seahawks. The Dolphins, however, are not easy to beat. Like we have been saying, this may just be the best team in the entire league. When are they going to put the Dolphins at the top of the power rankings is my question. You still see the 49ers and Cowboys and who else they got up there? The Eagles. I've seen the Eagles at number one. The Dolphins need to be up there. I think they're that good, but people just aren't quite buying in yet. Oh, this is also teacher versus student right here. That's going to be interesting. This might be the most interesting game of the week. Can the student get over on the teacher is the question. The 49ers, they're not putting up massive numbers, but they are doing everything it takes to win each week. The Dolphins are just that explosive. I got to say that the Dolphins win this one on the road.
This is difficult to pick. This is, to me, like clearly the best game of the week, by the way.
Yeah.
You can argue Chiefs Bengals that's coming up, but this to me is phenomenal. Here's the argument for the Niners is the defense side of things. Best defense in the league. They have not given up a point in over a game and a half of play. Like a single point, which is a ridiculous stat to say the least. But then you have the Dolphins who can score at will and gain yards at will. So you have the immovable object and the unstoppable force, it feels like. So this is incredibly difficult to pick. I think what this comes down to is Niners offense, Dolphins defense.
Yeah.
Can they get, first of all, can they stop the run consistently? Because if they can, then they'll have a tough time. If this is a run heavy, like a physical game, the Niners have a huge advantage. That's not the game the Dolphins want to play. Can they stop the run and then get pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo when he has to throw on third down, which he's been lethal so far? Can they put pressure on him to force him to actually to stall out drives? If they can do it, they have a shot, because when they have the ball, Dolphins do, they can score a lot. But this is so difficult to pick. I'm going to take the Niners purely out of homerism, and because they're at home, and because you pick the Dolphins, a lot of things come together to take them. But make no mistake, I'm flipping a coin on this one. I have no idea. I just want to watch. It's going to be a fantastic game. It'll be great. But I'm going to take the Niners. Chiefs at the Bengals.
Yeah, the other game of the week right here. rematch. Isn't this the AFC Championship last year?
It is.
Yeah.
That one was in Kansas City.
Yeah. And this one's in Cincinnati. Interesting. Man. Well, and you know what? They just beat the Titans also, which was also a playoff game for them last season.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess I'm going to go with the most explosive offense and the overall better quarterback. I mean, these teams are evenly matched, no matter how you cut this up. Yeah, the Chiefs have the consistency at the top year after year, and the Bengals are Johnny-come-latelys at this. But you know what? I'll stick with it. I can't doubt Mahomes in situations like this. I will take the Chiefs on the road.
I'll agree. I'm going to take Kansas City as well. I think they'll come into this game with the attitude like that last playoffs, like they got robbed. You know, the Bengals came to Kansas City and stole one from them. I think that's going to be their attitude, and they're going to want revenge for that. So to me, they're going to go to Cincinnati and win, but it's going to be a close one, and it's going to be high-level quarterback play. I think the Bengals are not the kind of team that's going to roll over, because the Chiefs, if they have a weak spot, it's going to be the defense. The defensive unit of the Chiefs has been their weak spot forever now. That's always been it. They win by scoring more points than they can possibly allow. And this could be a high scoring game for one. The over-under is at 52.5, which is a lot, by the way. That's by a good bit the highest over-under this entire week. And I think the game will reflect that. This late window is looking phenomenal, but I agree with the Chiefs, so I'll take them as well. And then finally, we have for this late window the Chargers at the Raiders.
Yeah. This is actually tougher than I thought it would be, considering the Raiders pulled out that win over the Seahawks, and they're kind of on a win streak now. Like I said, you cry at the podium, you get wins. It's almost like losing your coach, that 2-game bump. It's the crying at the podium 2-game bump that's going on right here. Is it over is the question. The Chargers haven't been playing as good as they should be. They finally, they have their winning record only by 1. They're just 1 game above 500. They should be better than that. This team is more talented than that. Their receivers are beat up. Keenan Allen is back, and Palmer is developing nicely. Gerald Everett is a really good tight end if they would use him more, but I don't know, man. I know the Chargers have a better quarterback here. You know what? I'm going to say it's even, and I'm going to give the 3 points to the home team and take the Raiders.
Okay, listen. I'm gonna disagree with this one. Okay?
I know.
I will take the Chargers to win this. Now, listen. I appreciate the Raiders for beating Seattle. That's a great deed. That was a big service they did, and it was great. You know, the way it worked in overtime. Popped that big run, 80 yards. Awesome. In Seattle, silence them. It was great. It was wonderful. Couldn't have been any better. With that being said, yeah, I'll take Justin Herbert to beat a lousy team that's basically tanking. First of all, another point, I cannot wait to see that 2-point conversion on Hard Knocks again. That's why I say so much. It's awesome if the team on Hard Knocks loses and it's also your rival team, like a team in your division, and they're bad, because you get to see it happen twice every week. Which is amazing. The last episode was great when they played the Niners and they got blown out. It was awesome. Loved it. And I can't wait to see that 2-point conversion. I thought they were going to win, and they get driven on in 2 minutes, and they go for 2. And score, by the way, in the most anticlimactic way. That wasn't even dramatic at all. So big shout out to both of those teams for beating rivals last week. But listen, the Chargers are... Justin Herbert alone is better than the Raiders. He should win this. The Chargers are still contending. The Raiders are not. Herbert needs to get this done, and the Chargers win. Colts at the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Colts are still on their downward slide. I know Jeff Saturday comes in, and they get a win, and that's a very close match. And everybody thinks, maybe we can turn this around. Maybe, we get a bump from Frank Reich leaving, and maybe they win out, but they just lost to the Steelers. The Steelers have almost an identical record to the Colts at this point. It's not a good look at all. Cowboys have an unbeatable defense. That's going to be the key to this game. they'll have plenty of time to score points because that Colts defense is beatable. Got to take the Cowboys at home.
Yeah, sadly, I do very much agree with that. I wanted the Colts to be really, really good. Now it's just Saturday. They're better than they were with Frank Reich, but they're not favorites against Dallas. They're probably not going to win. It would be the perfect upset pick once again. This is the exact moment it's supposed to happen, but you can't bet on it. By the way, why is this the late game? There's if you look at the slate of the other 4 late window games, those are all better. Each and every one of them is better than this. Niners and Dolphins, Bengals, Chiefs are no-brainer picks over this one, right? I don't know why no one ever bothered to flex it in there. But yeah, Cowboys to win quite easily. And the Saints at the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know if it was stadium being rented out or something, but why not the Chiefs and the Bengals on Sunday night and the Dolphins and 49ers on Monday night? Wouldn't that be great?
That would be it.
Yeah, it's
I guess it's because teams like the Chiefs and the Niners have already played multiple times on national TV, so they need to get some exposure to the Cowboys, right?
Yeah. Oh, you have to have the Cowboys, of course. Yeah. America's team has to be on there.
Must
be. As far as the Saints and the Bucks, I mean, they always want to get Tom Brady on there. That's for sure. It's a shame Drew Brees is not in this game because that's what they really want is another Brees and Brady matchup. And we saw how that went in the past. As far as the Saints actually stomped the Bucks out drastically. I can't remember if that was in primetime or not, but the Bucks are bad. That offense is just not running. Even with Godwin back, and Godwin looks really good. Evans is disappearing now. He doesn't have a tight end to throw to, that's for sure. But the Saints are even worse. I guess I have to go with the better defense here because the Saints don't even have an offense. I'll take the Bucks at home.
The Saints have no offense to speak of. But, okay, I will say this. They don't have a red zone offense to speak of because they got into the red zone twice against the Niners. In fact, they got within the 5-yard line twice. Managed to come away with 0 points due to turnovers and just bad play calling and general chaos. Their defense was pretty good, though. Both of these teams have a pretty good defense, which makes me think, number one, this is going to be low scoring. And the over-under is at 40, by the way, which is pretty low. Both teams have good running backs and maybe one good receiver. Who's going to start a quarterback for the Saints? No idea. Maybe Andy Dalton. Maybe some open door kind of rotation. Here's my real question, though. If I put the over-under of ejections in this game at 1.5, what do you pick?
I'll take... Well, it'll all be on the Saints. I'll take the over.
Over means the thing is the ejections with this one usually come in pairs, right? You have Evans and Lattimore pretty much. If something kicks off, it's both of them. So that's just the question: is there going to be an ejection worthy fight once again? And I feel like there is because there always is. But
Lattimore's going to start it though. Well, I don't know. Last time it was Evans that ran in after Lattimore started it with someone else.
With Jameis, yeah.
Yeah.
When Jameis was on the Bucks and now he's in the Saints. It's gonna be fun. It'll definitely be funny to see. In terms of picking the team, home team, I guess, give me the Bucks. They have more of a hope of winning the division than do the Saints. But if the Saints win this one, who's to say that they're not gonna magically come back and somehow get it? Because they'll be what? If the Saints win this, are they a game behind Tampa Bay or maybe a game and a half because of bye week? Something like that. It's close. This whole division's close and it all stinks. Everyone can beat anyone.
Oh yeah, if they win, they'll be tied for first place with the Bucks.
The Saints won't be there. The Saints have the worst record, but the
Saints are 4-8 right now, and the Bucks are 5-6. Okay, yeah, I guess they couldn't be tied because of the bye week, but
exactly. There's a bye week; it'll be half a game. Yeah. But the Panthers, if the Panthers win, the Falcons win, everyone's in play with just. If anyone can put together a win somewhere at all, they'll be good. So I'll take the Bucks though. Take the home team, but just someone win. I don't know. Cardinals and Panthers on bye, by the way.
Yeah.
So we don't get to see the brilliancy of Sam Darnold once again for a full game.
Well, I mean, Sam Darnold looked like he was doing something again. I thought about that when you were talking about Zach earlier.
Zach Wilson?
Yeah, like that. Man, they could end Zach's career the same way it happened to Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold got gased. That was still a different situation. That was arguably worse. God. And he got gased for 3 full years. Like if they cut Zach Wilson off, he started less than a full season for this, just constantly injured. And if they cut him off now, okay, maybe he has time to go somewhere else and recover under a proper organization or whatever. But
he went from gased to Rule.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's not a big upgrade, is it?
No.
Bad situation. Maybe he'll start the rest of the season and play respectably enough that he gets a starting job with a somewhat better team next year. I don't know who needs to go. Maybe the Saints. Is that better? I don't know. But PJ Walker looked a bit better than Mayfield when he came in for a game and then kind of averaged out. And then Mayfield played mediocre and Darnold played one great game, but from experience he's gonna regress to the same level. We'll see what happens with the Panthers, but they do get a bye week to recuperate from that pretty impressive win, I must say. It was pretty clean. We'll see how they keep going forward, and the division is still open. I can't stress it enough. The NFC South.
That's what I wanted to talk about. I added up these games here. The NFC South is 18-29 right now.
Wow. That is rough.
That's ridiculous. Whereas you have the NFC East. Actually, let's start with the AFC East. They're 30-15 right now. And if it ended right now, all 4 of those teams are in the playoffs. Same thing with the NFC East, who is 32-13. Like, that is ridiculous. I don't know from my entire time watching the NFL if there's ever been a division that dominant. Like, that's just crazy numbers.
Yes. That is insanity. It's rare enough to have 4 teams with a winning record at all. Mm-hmm. But that much, that's like over 70% win rate within the division. And that with respect to 6 entire games that are like within the division already, that have to be like count as a lot in the loss column. That means they just don't lose outside of the division.
Absolutely not, yeah. Yeah, no one can beat that division somehow.
Yeah.
The only losses are coming to each other.
It really is. It really is fascinating how that works. But and it's to the NFC East, last division you'd expect that from.
Exactly. Yeah, because they were the NFC South of like 2 seasons ago. I'd have to go back and look if it was 2019 or 2020. But that was a division that no one wanted to win. I think it was 2020, right? Remember when Alex had to come back and they win the season by going like 500?
Yeah, he came back to Washington and he made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I remember
like a 500 record or one game above 500, whatever it was. No one wanted that division that year.
No, you can't even sniff the playoffs with 500 in that division. You lose.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was Carson Wentz there. Dak was... Yeah, I mean, these teams are very similar to what they were when that happened.
Carson Wentz is on a different team, I guess. He was with the Eagles. Or was it? Was that when, he was with the Eagles then still.
Yeah, of course, Alex Smith instead of Taylor Heineke. But, I mean, Carson Wentz is still in the division, though.
He is, yeah. Not starting.
Yeah, not anymore. I wonder if he's going to come back.
Maybe he'll end up on the Jets or something.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, if he's healthy before the end of the season, do they switch back to Wentz? He was on a win streak when he went out. I mean...
tough to do with Heineke having them on playoff trajectory. It's a similar situation as it is with the Jets, right? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Do you bring the guy back?
Yeah, they're not winning because of Heineke, though. I mean, Heineke is holding steady. I mean, he's doing enough. He's not losing them games, but he's also not winning them games.
That's correct. Yeah, he's game managing, but he's doing it efficiently.
Yeah.
He's playing well. Carson Wentz is known to throw a game away sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. He's done that plenty of times.
Yeah, but he does have the higher upside.
Yeah.
Tough decisions. We'll see. We'll see how it goes when we get toward the last few weeks and playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, how's the fantasy world looking?
Yeah, you have either 1 or 2 games coming before the playoff starts in your league. If you're in some weird league that didn't set back and you have 2-game playoffs, two games per matchup, then you may be starting this week. But when the NFL season was extended by 1 game, your league should have extended that and at least pushed it back one game. But other than that, I want to do some more of the touchdown dependent players. I covered the running backs last week, and I talked about the wide receivers this week.
All right, that's going to be interesting. He's talking about the Hurry Up Offense, of course, fantasy football podcast on this channel coming up on Thursday afternoon or Thursday noon before kickoff. Be sure to check that out if you are a fantasy player, especially if you are still in the mix for the playoffs, because it's great information for free, professional advice that you can probably make some good use of. So be sure to subscribe to Beyond Football to get updated on when that comes out. Other than that, do we have anything to add for this week?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, thank you everybody for watching the video. Let us know what you think about these games, some picks, if you have any upsets to report, opinions on the MVP voting as well. Again, go to the channel page and content channel page for Beyond Football and the community site. You can vote for your MVP favorite right now. And how do you think it's gonna turn out? Other than that, drop us a like, and we're gonna see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard.